Welcome to the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network, a weekly broadcast sponsored by CVC Success Group, hosted each week by industry speaker, coach, author, and educator Jerry Eisenhower. Our presentations are produced to assist business owners and managers in turning their business dreams into their business realities. And now, here is your host, Jerry Eisenhower.
You know, sometimes it's time for a change. In business, we often come up with the following question that we ask ourselves. In fact, you may be asking yourself this question this week, or today, or next week. And what's that question? Is it time to terminate a member of your team? This is something that every leader has to deal with on occasion. So stay tuned, as Paul Harvey said, while I give you the rest of the story.
Bringing your team to the level of expertise you expect and want from them is a job in itself. And let's be honest, in our industry, is the learning ever really over? Why not turn training over to the experts at the CVC Success Group? Subject matter experts in your industry have joined forces to create the CVC Academy, online, on-site, or live streaming. Training for your team in format options that work best for their individual needs. CVC Success Group has thought of everything to help put you and your team on the path to success.
So here's the question for you today. Here's where so many people are at when they're leaders all too often. Many times we have an employee. It could be someone that's been with you for just a short period of time, but it might also be a long-time member of your team. And now today, as the manager, you're faced with a decision. Do we terminate this person because of the problems we're having, because this person doesn't fit in, because any number of reasons? So stay with me while I take you through some of these. When it comes up to a decision like this, if we have a heart, if we have a conscience, this is something that causes us to lose sleep. It goes through our minds about this person's family and how this person depends on us. But there could be any number of reasons why we're having to make this decision. And I'm going to give you a few, and you may have a few that you would add to this. But as I think about this, these are the reasons. They're a disruptive member of our team. They simply don't match up with our culture. They refuse to play well with the others on the team. They fail to follow our systems. They disappoint our customers. And often they disappoint us as management. Or it could be even deeper questions. I want you to roll through your mind right now. What are the things that go through your mind when you consider termination of an individual? What's going through your mind at that point? What are you thinking? It could be really deep. You know you need to terminate them, but then in your mind you're thinking, but I need them. He or she, they can really sell. I can't afford to lose the sales that'll go out the door with this person. The next thing is, well, if I fire him or her, who's going to do the job? And it gets even worse, which is, how much will it cost us if we terminate them? Will it cost us sales? Will it cost us profits? Will it have a cost of training someone else? But the thing is, no matter what your reasons are, the decision to terminate or fire someone is often one that's been delayed way too long, and where the damage is occurring each and every day they're on your team. But we just don't want to face the reality of what we have to do as a leader. So if any of these are coming up to you, I'm going to ask you a question. When did this problem start? When did you notice it? And when did you, as the leader, decide and start to take action? I love to quote people and quote life, and one of my favorite TV shows for years has been the Andy Griffith Show. Hopefully you've watched it. Do you remember the bumbling deputy, Barney Fife? He was the jokester to Andy being the straight man. But one of the things that Barney always wanted to do was offer his wisdom to Andy and the others on the show. Barney even tried to tell Andy how to raise Opie. And one of the phrases that Barney used that stands out to me is, Andy, you gotta nip it in the bud. And he would reinforce his words with nip it. You can even go on to YouTube and see a video that has Barney Fife in it saying nip it in the bud, just nip it. So let me ask you a question. As the leader, what actions did you take to nip it in the bud? What steps did you take? Did you have the hard conversations to affect change in that person? Or did you just simply hold it in until you're ready to explode? You've just failed to have that hard conversation. You see, because as a leader, as a manager, you also have to be a coach. And the effective leader of today doesn't boss. He coaches those that he leads into the level. Let me ask you this. Did you ever listen? Did you ever really listen to the frustrations this person had? And did you listen to understand their thoughts? Or did you just listen to prepare a reply? A reply that may not have provided any correction, or where the light bulb never went off with the team member who needed the wisdom that you needed to share. You see, as a leader, we have to be able to listen to the words of those we lead. Listen to their words to understand them. Because it's a whole lot more than just firing and termination. Certainly, there's going to be times where termination and firing is going to be required. It's part of your job. And you're going to have to do it if you don't have productive and effective members of your team. You see, and a lot of people are also seeing people that are in the company, but you as the owner may have made a decision that you want to scale your company to a larger level. But this is not sitting well with the longtime members of your team. They're not getting it. You haven't told them your vision. And more than likely, you haven't shared where they fit into that vision. You see, many times we're oblivious to the needs of what's happening around us. And many times the people that work for us, they're oblivious to the needs for the change that you may be implementing. And many great employers will come to the conclusion that it's time to possibly fire you as their employer. And nothing is more disheartening to the employer than a longtime member of your team deciding for them that the right choice is ahead for new pastures. Was it simply time where a breakup had to occur? Or could this breakup have been averted if we had taken the right action? You know, one of our team members here at CV Success Group is a lady by the name of Brandy Biswell. And she has developed and taught some phenomenal courses over the systems she uses with the communication process she calls the stay interview. The stay interview. And what I've seen is Brandy's processes are a fantastic way to have the hard conversations and also to find out how your team members feel about working on your team. And one of the things that Brandy shares in this is the ability to listen to your employees, to predict their unhappiness, and see if you can turn these things around before they become major in this. And another of our team members is Sheryl Eisenhower. She's combining her Ziegler coaching skills and her DISC assessment skills to be able to communicate effectively with people. Often, she's sitting and doing a DISC debriefing with a member of someone's team. It might be a member of your team. And one of the things that we found out is that Sheryl can detect many times the walls that may well be causing failure. Another person on our team that's able to detect failure that people don't see is Donovan Blanks. He does ride along training. gets out in the trucks, build a relationship with the members of the team. And what we found out that Donovan's been able to do is find out what is making people unhappy. And the result of this unhappiness is their productivity has dropped, their sales have dropped, their culture is dropping. They're just not a part of the team anymore. So that's another person that's giving us some great answers. So this is the question for you. What do you do to find out these answers? Are you communicating with your people? Do you know what their behavior patterns are? Do you have someone else that can listen to them and transfer the information to you? You see, communication and nip it in the bud are great processes. But at times there's going to need to provide a team member their freedom. Sometimes they need that freedom to leave you and go find what makes them happy. That's one of the things that one of my coaches and mentors has often said. His name's Larry Winget. It's time to grant them their freedom and pursue something that makes them happy. These are the things that we have to look at if we're going to build a team, a high impact team. You see, you can't delay your actions too long, which we often do. Many people just delay this. They bottle it up inside. I often have seen a manager who has pondered this action for way, way too long because all the fears come up. Those lost sales, what's going to happen? Where are we going to go? How are we going to replace them? But then they take the required action and we see the members of the team, they develop an entirely new culture. What was the reason? Because the employer, the manager, the coach, he removed the rotten apple. And it gave his team renewed life and a new energy. I want you to think about that. As the leader, it's your job to coach. And if they refuse to be coached, then you as a leader must take the required action. That's why you're the leader. Not to be the boss, but to be the coach, to take your people to excellence. So, hey, we got a new segment here on our podcast that we're going to start adding every week because I wanted to add some more value to this. So now we're going to go over to one of the best friends I have, a partner in life, and a person that works in my business and helps a lot of people. So we're going to call this Sheryl's Tips of Wisdom. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Sheryl, and Sheryl's going to talk to you and share her thoughts for the day. Maybe the same as mine, could be something differently because I've told her it's whatever you want to say.
It's so hard to find people. Nobody shows up for interviews anymore. I just don't know where to find people. You hear it everywhere, and you're not alone. The CVC Success Group has the experience and expertise in assessing candidates, conducting interviews for you, onboarding, and training your new hires for a path of success in their new career. Reach out to CVC Success Group and let's talk about the challenges you're facing today.
Does your personality have anything to do with your ability in firing people? Let's face it, firing's never easy. Well, unless you do it in a time of anger, and then it's emotion instead of your personality. Many times you regret that you did it in the time of anger. But when you use your personality to fire, then you understand the reasoning. When we are not angry, we tend to let our personality get in the way of letting us take someone and, as Jerry has said in the past, set them free. Because we have so many things involved. So where does your personality fit into your ability? Do you see rainbows and unicorns? Do you hate conflict? Do you have this feeling of always having to be nice? Everyone must like you, and hurting them is not your nature. That's your personality. You have a hard time firing people because you don't have what it takes to fulfill what you need to do and letting them go. Or are you the person that these people need to buy into your company ideas? And it's more important than the person is. Sometimes that's the situation of your personality. Is it all about the company at all cost? Not that you're not nice, but the business objective overplays the people. Or are you as Spock, how he was in Star Trek? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And then Captain Kirk even added, the needs of the one. So where do you fit? What initiated the need to fire someone? And can you do it? And can you keep the emotion out? Because when emotion gets in the way, then your personality cannot lead and help you fire them for the reason that was necessary. Okay, there are companies out there that fire people for companies like yours when you don't have the ability to do it, and especially if you're doing it in a mass layoff. Now, why would someone find it easier to pay someone to fire their employees? And why is it easier for the people in the companies to fire these people? It's because they don't know them. They don't know their families. They don't know the hardships that it would bring to the family. They actually don't know the hardship that it would bring to your company. They have no skin in the game. These are the reasons why it's hard for us to fire people. We know them. They're either have been friends, are friends. You've got a lot of time invested in them. You're afraid to lose the number of hours that you put into this person. But sometimes, can it not be more expensive to keep this person than it is to lose them? Are they ruining your good employees? Will they cause you to have to fire two instead of just one? Again, do the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one? With this, I'm going to turn it back over to Jerry and let him finish up this particular day.
As a business owner, you know where you want to take your business, but things keep popping up to block your way. You're not alone. It's hard to see clearly when you're so close to the situation. Where are the roadblocks? What do you need to tackle first? You went out and took a big risk because you've got dreams for your family and your community, and it's time to turn those dreams into reality. CVC Success Group has a proven system to do just that. It's time we talk.
So this edition of our podcast is all about firing people, but you could also view it as a time that somebody that works for you may decide it's time to try something new. Think about it. Have you got a key person in your employment that you don't know they're unhappy? Do you have a person who's not in a good place? Are you aware of this? And what happens if this person decides today that this is it? And they come up and say, boss, I need to talk to you. And they say, I'm turning in my notice, or I'm just quitting, whatever the case may be. You know, every time I talk about firing, I remember a movie I watched one time entitled Up in the Air. And it starred George Clooney. And George Clooney was a contractor, like Sheryl talked about in her segment, that people, corporate America, hired him to come in and fire their people. It was easy for George in the movie. Why? Because he didn't have a relationship with these people. He had a job to do. And his job was to terminate their employment, to give them the freedom, like we talked about, of going after what would make them happy in life. Same thing that Larry Winget says when he talks about firing people. So, termination, firing, if you're a leader, if you're a manager, it's probably going to be a part of your life. People resigning, turning in their noses, going to follow greener pastures, it's also going to be a part of your life and your career. So this is something that none of us likes to talk about. None of us like to do this. Well, I'm going to correct that. Some people do enjoy doing it. They get off on it. They really doesn't bother them to fire someone. I can remember a guy in my mixed group. People used to talk about firing. He'd say, hey, man, if you need somebody fired, I'll fire them for $1 a piece. I enjoy firing people. But that's not the average human being. It's really not. But it's the things that you as the leader have got to get together and be able to deal with, because at times termination is going to be the resort you're going to have to follow. But on the other hand, losing good people that could go to work for your competitor or even become your competitor, is that really and truly the course that you want to follow? And with that, we're going to end this week's episode of the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network. This is Jerry Eisenhower. Hope you enjoyed tuning in to myself and Sheryl. And she's going to be doing her regular segment on every podcast going down. I'm going to call it Sheryl's Tidbits of Wisdom. It may follow up what I'm saying, and it may be something strictly from her. But use this to grow yourself, to grow your company, to move to the next level. Again, my name's Jerry Eisenhower. Appreciate you tuning in to us. If we can help you reach your business dreams, reach out to us here at CVC Success Group. It's as simple as an email to info@cvcsuccessgroup.com. We may just have the systems and the processes and the tools that you've been looking for to turn those business dreams into your business realities. Talk to you next week.
Thanks for joining us here each week at the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network, sponsored by CVC Success Group, providing you the coaching and educational outreach services you need to move to your dream destination in business and in life.